Hi guys, Tom here. I'm here to talk to you about this seated Seiza position and why we do it. But before I do that, I just want to let you guys know that I get a lot of emails and questions by folks who can't get into this position because either they don't have the strength or they have arthritis or they're afraid if they get into this position, they're not going to be able to get out of this position. And can they still practice the idle? The answer is yes. Now watch. Hi guys, Tom here. First, I just want to thank everyone for their support, and we're loving the comments that come underneath the videos of how helpful we are, and we're thrilled that we're being helpful to all your training. So thank you. So, Seiza position, why do we do it? Where does it come from? I remember back in the early 90s when all the martial arts forums were alive and well, and people would go at great length to discussions as to why the Iaido Waza come from this position. And some folks say, well, the Seiza position is a formal indoor sitting position, so samurai would never use a long sword indoors, so why do we do that? And there's all kinds of stories, but a lot of it is just a misunderstanding. And if you look at the history, if you look out there hard enough and read a lot of stuff that's out there, you're going to find that the Seiza position, especially the Omoiru, which is where it comes from, and there's plenty of stuff out there you guys can read that do a lot better job than I could explaining it. There was a reason why the grandmasters kept that set in our curriculum. The reason is it's the beginner's set, but it also means a teaching set. You know, Sho, S-H-O, it also means beginner, but it can also mean first. And it's a great set because it gives you individual lessons. But not only that, it also teaches you fundamentals, and it teaches you a lot of fundamentals without you even realizing it. As a teacher, sometimes it's easier to ask someone to perform a motion or a movement when they're in a kneeling position than it is when they're in a standing position. And the reason for that is a lot of the muscles and joints that are making mistakes as you're standing are just simply taken out of the equation when you're in a different position. It's kind of like watching a bodybuilder trying to do some curls, and he's using his whole body to bring the curls up, and you can tell by watching that he's using all the wrong muscles. But as soon as they isolate the arm and put it over like a preacher cushion or a preacher bar, and then they do the exercise, and you can see that they're benefiting from it a lot more. This is, at a small level, almost the same thing. For instance, if I'm asking a student to do a cut, we like folks to reach up really, really high and do a big, giant elliptical cut. Well, when they're standing, folks tend to just chop right down. And when that happens, you notice my head how it goes forward, the weight of the sword, especially if it's a cheaper sword or wooden bokken, it's going to drive the weight downward. Well, guess what? You're going to hit your sword on the ground if you really, really do it incorrectly. So folks tend to figure it out pretty quickly when they start hitting the ground. So they tend to adjust and straighten their back and keep their hips low. And because I'm on my toes back here and I have my foot in front of my knee here, that kind of takes out all the stuff that I can do wrong before I even start. Also, if some folks are wearing the sword incorrectly, like a lot of beginners will have the sword up like this. Well, if they were to sit in this position like this, the sword's going to hit the ground. So that's going to automatically fix itself too. It's little lessons like that we don't have to teach you because the position and the set kind of fixes itself a little bit. So can you still do these lessons while you're standing? Absolutely you can. But you're just going to need a little bit more correction, and you're just going to have to work just a little bit harder with some feedback from a teacher on how to do things correctly. It's actually harder for the teacher than it is for the student sometimes. Also, when you're performing these waza, just because you can't get in this position, well, sometimes folks can start from this position, and that's perfectly fine for beginners who have never done this before. They really want to try. This is okay. Well, if you can get in this position, and if you're wearing knee pads, then you can certainly get in this position. If your foot allows the flexion back there, and if you can keep this foot in front of this knee, this is fine. There's plenty of Iaido lessons that you can learn in fundamentals from this position here. So what does Seiza do? It gives us good fundamentals. It gives us a good baseline of skills and techniques, and teaches us to use muscles that we're supposed to use. Any Asian Ryu practitioner will know that throughout just about, I'd say, most of the sets, there are techniques from this position that involve a cut coming up and down. So that means it must be pretty important if it's represented in all the sets. So the lesson here is, just because you can't get in Seiza doesn't mean you can't get in some of the other positions in the same waza from the same set. And pretty soon we're going to have a video of standing versions of all the Seiza waza. And there are portions of those waza that maybe you can still do if you can't get in this position. So I hope this helps a little bit to understand why we do this. And we appreciate you watching. Any questions or comments, throw them down there. Thanks again.